very eloquently and visually sold them both themselves and their topics so accurately, and I hope I don't need to encourage you to support.
For many decades, Princess Anne was seen as the most disciplined and reserved member of the royal family. Unlike her brothers and even her parents, she rarely stepped into gossip or offered personal comments about the controversies that surrounded the monarchy. When newspapers were filled with explosive stories about Princess Diana, Camilla Parker Bowles, and Prince Charles, Anne chose to remain quiet. She never gave an interview to set the record straight, never confirmed rumors, and never added her own opinions about the family drama that the public was so obsessed with. This silence became part of her image: hardworking, no-nonsense, and uninterested in tabloid attention. But recently, this long record of discretion appeared to break. Anne reportedly made a calm but powerful statement about Diana and the choices made by Queen Elizabeth, words that seemed small on the surface but were incredibly significant to royal watchers. The remark was said to be made casually, but it has raised questions about her true feelings regarding Diana, Camilla, and the dramatic love triangle that defined a generation of royal scandals. Many are wondering, did Anne accidentally reveal the truth about how the family viewed Diana, or was this her subtle way of defending her mother's controversial decisions? Either way, her silence is no longer complete, and the ripple effects are still being felt. To understand why Princess Anne's words carry so much weight, it's important to recognize just how different she and Diana were. Anne was born in 1950 and grew up in a strict royal environment where duty came before everything else. By the time Diana entered the royal family in 1981, Anne was already a mother of 2 children and was known as the hardest-working royal, often carrying out hundreds of engagements every year. Her personality was famously blunt, practical, and resistant to drama. Diana, on the other hand, was young, sensitive, and emotional. She had an almost natural ability to connect with the public on a deep level, which made her incredibly popular, but also left her vulnerable. When the 2 women interacted, their differences became obvious. One story tells of Diana respectfully curtsying to Anne when they first met, only to receive what was described as a cold or dismissive reaction. This left Diana embarrassed and overwhelmed, and it set the tone for what would become a difficult relationship. Their bond, as sisters-in-law, never developed, and their personalities clashed in a way that the media loved to exaggerate. The tabloids painted them as rivals, but Anne never spoke publicly to confirm or deny such claims. Her refusal to engage only deepened the mystery of what she truly thought about Diana. Princess Anne's reputation as a blunt but dutiful royal made her very different from Diana, who thrived on emotional openness and honesty. While Diana often used her vulnerability to highlight social causes and win the hearts of millions, Anne believed in quietly doing her job without making herself the center of attention. This difference was seen most clearly in family matters. When Diana became a mother to Prince William and Prince Harry, she did not choose Anne as a godmother to either of her children, despite the expectation that she might. Reports suggest Anne was hurt by this, especially since Charles had served as godfather to Anne's son, Peter Phillips. The decision not to include Anne to deepen the gap between the 2 women. In fact, when Prince Harry was christened, Anne didn't even attend the ceremony, something that raised many eyebrows at the time. Instead of addressing the issue or making a scene, Anne simply carried on with her duties, while Diana became even more loved by the public. Over time, their lack of closeness became a permanent fixture of royal family dynamics. Many observers believe that if they had been able to find common ground, Diana might have had an ally in Anne during her most difficult years. But instead, Anne remained distant, and Diana carried the emotional weight mostly on her own. Anne's later reflections suggest that she regrets this missed opportunity, though she still frames it in her usual practical way rather than in emotional terms. When Princess Diana became part of the royal family, she was only 20 years old. The world watched her fairy tale wedding to Prince Charles in 1981. But behind the palace walls, life was very different. Diana often felt isolated, overwhelmed, and judged by the strict royal system. She was also dealing with Charles's continuing relationship with Camilla Parker Bowles, which created tension from the very beginning. During these years, Anne continued her royal duties with the same discipline she always had. While Diana spoke openly about her struggles in interviews and showed her emotions publicly, Anne remained private and stoic. This contrast made the two women seem like complete opposites, and the press loved to play up the narrative of rivalry. But the truth may have been less dramatic and more about personalities that simply did not connect. Anne believed in keeping emotions private, while Diana lived through her heart. Some insiders have said that Anne did try to support Diana in her own way by not interfering or adding extra pressure. But Diana may have wanted more personal guidance. This lack of emotional connection made their relationship cool and sometimes awkward. Looking back, Anne has reportedly admitted that she could have done more to help Diana adjust to the difficult expectations of royal life. But at the time, she did not think emotional handholding was her role. The tragic death of Princess Diana in Paris in 1997 shocked the entire world. People across the globe mourned the people's princess. And criticism quickly turned toward the royal family, who were accused of being too cold in their response. Princess Anne, known for her composure and discipline, rarely showed her emotions in public, yet insiders say she was deeply shaken by Diana's passing. She was said to be stunned and saddened, though she expressed it in private rather than in the public eye. At the funeral, she maintained her usual reserved behavior. But those who knew her personally claimed she carried a quiet grief and even a sense of regret. This regret was not only about Diana's tragic death, but also about the distance between them during Diana's life. Anne reportedly reflected on the lack of communication and wondered if she could have been more supportive. However, her natural character made her avoid dwelling on what-ifs. For the public, Anne's silence was interpreted as indifference. But those inside the palace saw a woman who preferred to grieve quietly. In the years after Diana's death, the silence continued. Anne avoided adding her voice to the conspiracy theories and the endless speculation about what really happened in Paris. She focused instead on her royal duties. But the questions about what she truly thought of Diana never fully disappeared. For decades, Anne's silence created a mystery that journalists and royal watchers never stopped trying to solve. This is why her recent calm remark carried so much weight. According to reports, Anne said, "I believe my mother did the right thing. I think it's extraordinary." When asked about Queen Elizabeth's decision to allow Charles to marry Camilla after Diana's passing, on the surface, this sounds like a daughter showing loyalty to her mother. But for those who have followed the royal family for years, this was much more. Anne almost never comments on sensitive family matters, and to speak about Diana at all was shocking. The remark suggested that Anne may have believed that the Queen's decision was not only practical, but also necessary. It also hinted at her personal belief that Diana's relationship with Charles was doomed from the start because of the strength of Charles and Camilla's bond. For royal watchers, this was interpreted as an indirectly confirming years of speculation that Diana's marriage to Charles was always overshadowed by Camilla. The comment reopened old wounds and sparked new debates about loyalty, legacy, and the true feelings inside the palace walls. It also reminded people that even silence can be broken, and when it is, the effect can be explosive. Diana's tragic death has always been surrounded by conspiracy theories. From the moment her car crashed in Paris, people began to suspect foul play. Some believed the paparazzi forced the crash, others thought the vehicle had been tampered with, and some even suggested involvement from powerful figures who wanted Diana out of the way. A letter written by Diana herself, where she expressed fears that someone was planning an accident involving her car, only added to the mystery. Official investigations in both France and the United Kingdom concluded that the crash was caused by a combination of speeding, impaired driving by the chauffeur, and the aggressive chase by photographers. Yet the doubts have never gone away. When Anne finally made her quiet comment, some people saw it as a clue, a sign that she might know more than she had ever admitted. Did she accidentally confirm that the royal family believed Diana would never have been able to handle Charles and Camilla's relationship? Or was she simply showing loyalty to her mother? These questions keep fueling speculation. The truth may never be fully known, but the theories remain alive because of the secrecy that has always surrounded the monarchy. For many, Anne's few words were a reminder that even the royals themselves may hold secrets that will never be shared openly. No story about Diana can be told without mentioning Camilla Parker Bowles. Now Queen Camilla, she has always been at the center of the controversy, painted as the other woman during Charles and Diana's marriage. In the early years, the press was harsh toward her, often portraying her as cold and manipulative. Diana herself once referred to Camilla as a Rottweiler, a comment that stayed in the public imagination. Over time, Camilla's public image has changed, thanks to careful efforts by the palace and the media. Today, she is seen in a more positive light, but suspicions remain. Prince Harry has openly spoken about her role in managing her media image, even calling her dangerous because of her willingness to exchange information with the press. Rumors about her lifestyles, smoking, drinking, and having a forceful personality have been part of her story for decades. Biographers and journalists have described her in many different ways, some sympathetic and others critical. For those who loved Diana, Camilla remains a controversial figure, often blamed for Diana's suffering. When Anne defended the Queen's decision to allow Charles to marry Camilla, it added another layer to the ongoing debate. Was Anne acknowledging Camilla's power within the family? Or was she simply stating a fact about a love that could not be denied? Either way, her words have reignited old questions about who truly shaped Diana's fate. Princess Anne's recent comments show that even after decades, Diana's story is far from over. The late princess remains one of the most beloved figures in modern history, and her struggles continue to shape how people view the royal family. Anne's loyalty has always been to the monarchy. But even she cannot escape questions about Diana's treatment and the decisions that changed the course of history. Was Diana's marriage doomed from the start? Did the Queen and the family fail to protect her? And is Camilla's acceptance into the royal family proof that Diana's sacrifices were ignored? These questions will continue to be asked, and Anne's rare statement has given them new life. What makes her comments so powerful is not only what she said, but the fact that she said anything at all. After decades of silence, her voice has entered the conversation, and it cannot be taken back. For many, it feels like a small crack in the walls of royal secrecy. Whether she meant to or not, Anne has reminded the world that behind the titles, ceremonies, and official statements are human beings with feelings, regrets, and loyalties. Diana's story will always be part of the royal family's history, and Anne's words have ensured that it remains just as relevant today as it was in 1997.